All Home DIY Dad here today with a fun project. I'm going to show you how to install a security camera in the soffits or eaves of your house. Specifically, aluminum eaves. I have aluminum eaves, soffits under the overhangs of all of my house and my garage. This is my garage, and it makes it a little more difficult to install security cameras. Some people have vinyl, and that's a little easier. The material is easier to bend, and you can actually take the soffits out. I'm going to show you how to do it without having to take the actual soffits out, because it's almost impossible for me to do that without breaking the aluminum actual pieces. It's not as malleable as vinyl is. It's also more expensive, so if you mess it up, you're going to pay for it. And these are fairly old. This is like 15, 16 years ago that this was built, and I'm probably not going to find the exact match. So I'd like not to mess it up. So basically the scope of this is I've got a bunch of security cameras around my house. I'm kind of expanding what I currently have, and I want to get coverage on the side of my garage. So I'm going to be installing a camera in that corner facing down the alley. So I need to find the right placement for the camera to get the right angle of view, because you don't want to put a hole somewhere that you don't want it and end up having to move it. So I'm going to put it up there already connected, see if I can actually get a good view and placement and mark where I want to put it. I'll also show you how to run the actual wiring that you need. So specifically, I'm running Cat 6 Ethernet wire. I'm going to have security camera that is PoE, which is power over Ethernet. You can run cords for the low voltage as well if your camera doesn't have PoE, or if you're just simply not wanting to use PoE for some reason. I think it's a great way to do it. You get internet and power in one cord. If you have a wireless camera for Wi-Fi, you can do it the same install, the same way. You have to run your power cord the same way, or if you have an outlet in your soffit or in your eaves for, Christmas lights or holiday decorations, whatever you have, you can do that as well, and you can skip the actual running of the wire. But I have PoE, so that's what I'm going to show you how to do. I have good access in the attic of my garage to be able to run it. Your situation may be different. I'll show you what I got. Hopefully it'll help you run yours. So I'll go through the materials that you're going to need to do this. It can vary depending upon your situation and what you want to do. Specifically, the wiring, like I just talked about. I've got 100 feet of Cat 6. I'm going to use this. It's already actually got the RJ45 ends on it. I probably don't need 100 feet, so I'm going to end up cutting off what I need, and then I can use the rest of it for another project or another camera, whatever will work. So you're going to need some Cat 6 and whatever length that you need to get to your camera and get it to your power over Ethernet switch that's connected to your internet system. So make sure you get the correct lengths. Next, you're going to need some tools. This is a Klein tool RJ45 specific to put on RJ45 ends on your Cat 6, Cat 5e Ethernet cord. Really nice tool to have. Helps strip it, cut it, and then crimps it and snips the ends off. Next is going to be lights. So if you're running cords in the attic, you're going to want to have lights. I got one for my head, which is really nice to have. You want to use two hands a lot to do a lot of this work. And then another handheld one to poke through holes, look at things a little more specifically. And then when it comes to running the cords, you're going to want what I call fishing rods. These are carbon fiber, flexible, but not too flexible, glow-in-the-dark rods. You connect them end to end for the length that you need. This is about 15 feet total with the 3. And on the ends of it is metal line. A lot of people call this like a wet noodle. And you connect this to the end of your rod, you fish it in to the space that you need, and it makes it really easy to grab this cordage. And then also attaching a line that has your Cat 6 Ethernet line to pull it easier, because pulling these rods through holes can be a little more difficult if there's bends to it, which a lot of times there is on eaves. So it's nice to have the line and the cordage. And the reason you want the metal cord is because you have what comes with it, the wet noodle, a flexible magnet. So this will grab that cord through the hole that you've put in your eave and be able to then attach that line to it and pull your actual Ethernet line through that hole instead of having to pull all of this through. So we'll see how that works with my application here. The next thing, so aluminum eaves, you have two options for mounting. One is to use regular screws, try to get a good hold. Hopefully you don't strip it. The other option is using these drywall anchors. And what these do is they pop through a small hole attached to the screw, and when you pop them through, they expand and they hold on the other side. And then you tighten them down. That is how I plan to show you how to attach the actual mounting bracket of the camera to the aluminum eaves. I think it'll work nice. You put a couple extra holes in, but it's going to hold a lot better than just using screws, because aluminum eaves are not very thick. And if they strip out, that side could then bend down, and you don't want that camera to fall. And then obviously, if you're doing this for security reasons, if people try to take out your camera, take it off, if it's attached by screws, they can literally just grab it and pull it and snip the cord, and you don't see anything anymore after that. That leads me to the mounting bracket and the camera. So specifically, I use Reolink cameras. They have a really nice system that's pretty user-friendly for non-professionals like myself, and it has good connectivity. I've got the Reolink video recorder, so it records directly from all the feeds of my camera to a hard drive. And I think that they're pretty user-friendly, pretty easy to install and run, but give you good functionality also. And the price point, in the research that I've done, I don't think I've seen a better price point for what you get out of a Power over Ethernet security camera. So I'll be installing a dome type camera, a little more low profile than the turret styles, which is kind of the long cylindrical ones. And this has 3 ends to it. One is a reset button. One is actual power that you can get an adapter for to power it. And the other one is the Ethernet and PoE adapter. And that allows you to run internet and power to the camera. These have nice mounting brackets. This is what will sit on the eave and attach to it, and you run your cords right through the middle. Makes a really clean, sleek install, and also protects that cordage really well from any outside factors, rain, weather, burglars. They can't just come snip it. You're going to want a tool pouch with miscellaneous screwdrivers to help keep everything where you need it. You're going to be up on the ladders, you're going to be in the attic. It's nice to have everything that you need in one spot. You're going to want electrical tape, help fasten cordage to the wires to pull through, and also if you want to tape ends and whatever your application is, obviously electrical tape is good for that. And then you're going to want to drill, different adapters and bits for your application, and then drill bits. So the ends, as you can see, of my camera are fairly large. And I made the mistake installing a previous camera of making the holes too small in the aluminum, and aluminum can get very sharp. And I actually had an issue pulling one back through and had to redo my cordage and put a new end on because I cut the cords and pulled it through. I'm going to use an inch bit. It's maybe overkill, but that's the size that the actual adapter plate is. So I'm going to match that size, and it will give me a lot more room to push these through and not have any issues. And then I've also got the size that I need for the drywall anchors so that I could pop those through on the sides. I don't want to make too big of holes. You want to make a nice small hole for that. So I've got bits for that. Other things that you may need, if your camera has the ability for an SD card, I would recommend getting that and installing it before you put it up. You can always do it after, but I like to just leave my cameras as they are with the angle that you have once you get it all set up, so that you don't have to go in, take it down, install the card later. I like to have cards in mind. You can store them locally in the camera, the motion detection, and then separately record everything in your NVR. So if one of those fails, you have a backup. It's kind of a double fail-safe. It also adds additional functionality in the Reolink system to have SD card and the NVR. They function a little differently and give you some different smart features to them. So that's it for materials. I'll post links to everything that I've used for this install below the video in the description. So if you want to check that out, you can look there, and we'll get started. All right, so I'm up on the ladder. This is the spot that I want to put the camera, and it's going to be facing down the line and then out to the fence. And what I did is, and you may not have the ability to do this, but I would recommend it if you do. I took my Ethernet line. It's 100 feet. It's already has the RJ45 ends on it. If you have just the bulk line that doesn't have the RJ45 ends on it, you may not have to, but it might be worth it for you to pop a couple on and connect it outside of your, where you're actually running it, so that you can get a good placement of this. So I've got my tablet here dangerously up on the ladder, and I'm gonna see if I can find kind of a good location for this. And look down, you can't see it, I'll show you it in a second, at the camera to see if I can get a good spot. Really, because of how narrow this space is, it's not gonna matter that much. But if you got a space that has a little bit more angle one way or the other that you want to view, you're gonna want to put your camera up and see what you can see and what's going to be best. Yeah, and I like to try to get mine close to the house because it gives better weather protection. I live in Minnesota. The weather's insane. Like, you're driving rain, tornadoes, wind, or it can be blizzards with sideways snow. So I like to try to protect these as much as I can. They're weatherproof, obviously, but things break down when it's terrible weather. So I'm looking, and the other thing to know is the closer you get to your house, the harder it is to actually run the cable, because most times when you have soffits here, the ceiling or the joists actually are above this. There's a wall that goes higher, and you have to go over the top of that in between your actual roof line and that support beam, and have to run that cord over the top. And that's easier to do if it's over here, because that cordage then can drop and you can grab it easier. But if it's here, it's harder to grab. So you got to find a fine line. I'm thinking somewhere in the middle here would be good. And I might even, to hide it from the backyard with our pool area, I might even move it over so that you don't see it, because I don't need it to see any further. So I think that's where I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it right in the middle here of this soffit right here. And I'll see if I can show you. So if I put it here, I can see down the line and the fence line without getting too much of the neighbors. I'm gonna put it in the soffit here that doesn't have these things, so it's kind of in the middle. This is a middle one, so I might put it a little back. Put the holes a little back, put it in that one, have it be supported there, and it'll be turned like this. I think that will work out, then you won't see it from the backyard. Perfect. I'm gonna mark it. Do it right about here. Okay. So that's where I'm going to put it. That's where we're going to drill the hole once I get this mount here, and we'll see how that works. All right, so I've got my mounting bracket kind of positioned where I have that mark and where I can put the two holes to put in those drywall anchors. So those will stick nicely in the middle of this one with the two holes. These have 4 mounting holes, but you only need 2 of them. So you do them on opposite sides and it'll hold nice. Cameras aren't that heavy. So I'm going to put that hole exactly where that mark is. These self-drilling bits are nice. They're not necessarily made for aluminum, but aluminum's pretty easy to get through. But they take a nice chunk out and actually kind of grab it, so you don't have to worry about bending it and having too many sharp edges in there. I don't have any shards that are going to be too bad on your cordage. There's one there I'm going to grab off. The rest of it's pretty decent. Now you've got a nice hole that you can use to pull that through without having to mess up your cordage. Get up and I'm going to mark the holes for the drywall anchors. Pop them through. So I've got the Sharpie out. I'm going to mark them here. All right, so we got the holes in. Nice clean. I like to leave this open now. I don't want to mount the bracket until we're all ready to put the camera up, because I want to make sure we can get the cords. I like to use these extra holes to put the light in, see if I can see anything, and easier to grab stuff if I need to. So I'll show you that later when we're mounting it all up. So now we'll head inside in the attic and see if we can run that cordage and find it in here with the wet noodle and the fishing rods. All right, so we're in the attic. Got my cord here. I'm scoping out where I need to go. And this is going to be a tough one because this is the corner of the garage. And it's like the double angle. I got to go way over in that corner. And I think I got to go to the right of that beam that's going off to the left there. This is all part of it. You got to figure out where to go. So, all right, I got my laser pointer there. So there's this beam here. I think that goes past where my camera's being mounted because of the angle, because I'm pretty close to that edge. So I'm pretty sure I got to run my cordage right in here somewhere. Somehow get it to get in there, and I got to be able to use that metal to find it with that magnet thing I have. It's going to be tough. This is an interesting one. Probably going to have to stand over here because I don't think my fishing rod is long enough. So I got to get it right in there. We'll see how it goes. All right, getting set up to see if I can make that run over to that corner in the attic. I think what I'm going to do with this metal line is somewhat loop it so that I can get some of it dangling through that hole so I can find it. And then when I do, I can pull it back through, and on the other end of it, I'm going to attach the rope. And then the rope, I'm going to attach the actual Cat 6. So I'm going to loop some rope through this end and tie it off. See if I can use that, attach the Cat 6 to, and then I can pull that through instead of having to pull this whole rod through. So I'm going to tie this up. Cat 6 onto this, and this I'm going to tape, and I'm going to tape this end nice so I don't have to redo this RJ45. If I do, if I wreck it, it is no big deal. You snip it, put a new one on. But I want to tape it up so it doesn't fall off. I've had that happen before where I'm like, oh, that's enough tape. And then it pulls through in the middle of the wall or through the soffit, and then you got to pull it all the way back through again and then redo the whole thing. That's not very fun. So, let's see if we can get some decent amount of tape on here. I always like the tape right at the front of it. So if you got to pull it through the holes, then it's one kind of spot to pull instead of having two ends to snag. You don't want to snag your cord. So I'm going to put a nice little edge on there, or point, and snake this through. The nice thing about doing this with a Cat 6 Ethernet that doesn't have an RJ45 end on it already is you don't have that big end, and when you tape these, instead of having to pull the tape all the way off, you can just cut it and then use it from there. Usually that's what I do, but I had this one on hand and my other stuff's all tied up, and I don't know how much I'm going to need, so I'm just going to use this one and cut it off. There we go. Cat 6 to the rope, to the metal wire that I can use to get with the magnet, and that is looped through the end, so this will hopefully dangle in there, and I could pull then that side through, right through that loop. See how it works. Gotta get it over that piece over there. I'm having trouble getting the, this is such a long run with this, just getting this up and over, so I'm gonna have to probably go over here. So I'm gonna leave the camera here, see if I can get some shots, but if I don't, I don't. Yeah. It's a little better. Get stuck on that. Ooh, I think I made her. See some daylight over there. I don't know if I made it all the way. Oh, there we go, there's some more. Just gotta find the spot. Well, gave it my all here. Let's see if I can find it out there. All right, back outside. See if we made it through on the first try or not. What are the luck of that? Literally just popped it straight up, a magnet on the wet noodle, and caught this. This tool with this all comes together. It also comes with a pull stick that you can go up and grab stuff. I mean, I'll post a link, but this is the best tool ever for doing any type of cord pulling. This would have taken me a lot longer to try to find that rope that I put on. Originally, that's what I would normally do. And this, just grab it right away, have that ready, and figure out which end is the loose one that pulls through that loop. There's the rope. And I'll get a little snag here probably with the Ethernet. Alright, one thing with the Ethernet line you don't want to do, that's really snagged, is you want to make sure that it's not kinked up behind it and getting caught. I got a lot of 2x4s and framing up there. So I'm going to go back up, make sure it's all straight. And I'm pulling this here, and then we'll pull the rest of it through. Well, I was right. I went back up there and it was all tangled. It actually got tangled around the fishing rod. So I'm wondering if it's going through that loop right now, and that's why it's getting caught. So what I'm going to do is take the line off of this, and I'm going to tie the line to the ladder here so that I don't get this pulled through when I'm trying to untangle that through there. I know I put it through that loop, and that's going to be the tangled piece. So now I can pull the actual rod back with this, and then this will stay. So I'm going to tie it around here, make sure it doesn't come loose. And then I know I'm not going to lose it back again and have to redo it. So I'm going to pull this back through. Then the Ethernet and this will still be here, and I can pull it. All right, that was a tangled mess in there. I had to basically lay down and get to the tangle and pull it through. It wasn't awful. Should have it all set now to continue pulling without getting it tangled on anything. There we are. Now, some people would say, okay, good, I got the cord, unwrap it and do it here. You want to leave yourself some cordage. I'm going to leave myself a couple feet because if you ever mess anything up, the camera gets messed up or the end gets messed up or corroded, you can snip it and redo the end and still have it without having to run new cord because you didn't leave enough cordage to pull back. So I'm going to do that and then push it all back up under the eave and have it sit nice. So I'm going to give myself a good couple feet here. It's also easier to work when you're working on the ladder here and not here. So there we go. Take the tape off. All right, there's the end. What I'm gonna do is, in the attic, show you, I'm gonna put a fastener on one of those 2x4s to hold the Ethernet line, Cat 6, so that when I pull the line back through the attic to where my Ethernet switch is in the garage, I don't pull this too far and then ruin the extra couple feet that I left. So I'm going to fasten that up and then we'll go in the attic and get the line pulled. All right, we're going to get the Cat 6 run through the rafters, and I've already got some cordage that has been up here that I'm going to use to pull back down to my switch. So I'm going to attach that to the new Cat 6, pull it down, and then we'll show you how to do a RJ45 end. Don't let your cords look like this. I'm going to pull this as far as I go. I fastened it to the 2x4 up there. And then I'm going to cut the end where I need it and then use the extra for a different project. Give it a little slack in case I move the switch. There we go. Let's show you how to hopefully quickly, do a RJ45. Alright, got a little boot and RJ45 end. First, this is where you're going to use your RJ45 tool. If you ended up getting one, if you didn't, this can be pretty hard. Strip about, I like to do about 2.5, 3 inches. Gives a little more room to work with, and you snip off the end anyway. Put it in there. It's got a little thing to strip, which is nice. This cable, I believe, is technically an outdoor cable, so it's got an extra jacket on the inside. You gotta get through to get a little more pressure, but you don't want to give too much pressure when you're doing this because you can cut the actual lining of the cords on the inside that are spooled together. Get part of it off. difficult to do. There you go. All right. Then you're going to want to have some snipping tools to get they put a little rope in, help keep it together when you're pulling through. Snip that off. And then you got a little spacer in the middle between all the strands that are spindled together. Get that off as low as you can. And then start undoing the spools. It can be a bit tedious, but once you get used to it, if you're doing enough of them, it gets a little easier. I've done enough of them now that I feel pretty comfortable with them. Every cord manufacturer is just a little different with the wires and the casings. Spindle. All right, now you want to try to straighten them out. I like to use 3 fingers. Get a pinch on it, try to straighten them. So you're going to have to slide them through that RJ45 connector. Makes it a lot easier when these are pretty straight. Then, the nice thing about the Klein is it tells you the wiring order. And for residential, it's the T568B, and it depends on which side you're looking at, but I like to look at it kind of from the front, and that's striped orange, orange, striped green, blue, striped blue, green, striped brown, brown. And I always double check when I'm doing it. Make sure I'm not doing it the wrong order. Because you do it the wrong order on one end and the right order on the other end, and you're not getting the connection. But the funny thing about these cords is if you do it the wrong way both times, and you do it the same wrong way, it'll work. Because the cords don't know which is which as long as they're connected in the right spots. So it's just about the order of them. Technically, if you wanted to be that guy, you could do it any way you feel like it on all of your cords, and then hopefully no one has to deal with your crap after you, because it's all going to be messed up and they're going to have lots of problems figuring it out. So I would encourage you to just do it the right way. That's why they do it, so everybody knows the standard and can work on things in the future. I actually like this cordage better than my blue stuff I've been using here. I think this is the cords are a little stiffer. Makes it easier actually to do everything. I'm sure everybody's got their little tricks to do this. I've figured out that once you get them in the right order, then you get a good spot where they're all together, and you take this and you snip right in a line, and then you got a nice line to work with. on. Forgot to do that at the beginning. Should have done that earlier. Gotta straighten them again. Boots aren't really necessary, but for this cord I'm going to use it. Alright, get them in the right order. You get your connector. You gotta make sure you're putting it on the right way. So, like I said, I'm putting it, I like to do it kind of from the top. It's like backwards. And you slide it in. And then when you slide it, you check. Sorry, here, missed that. You slide it in. And then you check. Stripe, solid, stripe green, blue, stripe blue, solid green, stripe brown, brown. And then you push it in as far as you can into it. Oh, there we go. Got a little edge caught. And I'm a fan of that inner jacket. Then you take the tool and feed the cords through. Put it in and you crimp it. Slide it out, and you got a nice tight end. And then mine also has a little thing here to tighten it down, add some more security to it. There you go. I'm going to plug it in so that when I get my camera all done up there, I can get set. A nice connection. Where's my boot? Got the boot up here. There we go. All right, here we are back outside. And we're going to get the plate installed. And helps to push these down. Right in. There, they catch. Then use a screwdriver or by hand and tighten them up. Technically these are not, I knew somebody would ask, so I'll answer it. These are not technically outdoor screws. They're not stainless or coated. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a dab of caulk, silicone sealant on them just to prevent any rust. Not too worried about it. I've had other cameras up with screws that aren't outdoor and for 5 years and they show that there's rust on them, but it isn't like they're rusting through. Not sure if your cameras will come with it, but if you got a Real Link, it will. This is the weatherproof connecting kit for connecting their RJ45 female to the male. What you do is you have this little end cap that goes on first, and then the protector over it. And then you take this little white piece that has a little seam in it. It's a rubber seal. And when you get it connected, you put that one on. So then you grab the camera, plug in the RJ45. This slides into that and twists on tight. And then put the little white thing on. And this one cord might be a little big. We'll find out. So outdoor cords have a little bit more girth to them. Yeah, the end's not going to fit. That's right. I'm going to stick this up here. Only thing that really gets it if you pressure wash, do those types of things. Yeah, now it'll match up a little better. There, much better. On there, twist it, turn it to how you want it, and then take a look at app, camera, on your phone, check the angle. Real length's nice because, like I showed you, you can twist this all the way around. This goes like this, and you can turn it for a level. Works really nice. So we'll see what it looks like here. And that is how you install an IP camera under your aluminum soffits and run the cordage. Again, every application is going to be different. I showed you some tricks in here and some nice tools to use that should work for a lot of applications. Again, every house is different, but hopefully this helped. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel.